There comes a tipping point in every political campaign where someone permanently grabs the reins and cruises to the finish line, or where someone sticks their foot in it so deep no amount of extraction will save them. Whither goest Donald Trump at the moment? The war against radical Islamic extremists has many of the so-called experts saying the only way to win is carpet bomb and lay waste to their civilization. But take a step back and consider, this is what ISIS wants, and we are being manipulated. Heard results from the latest polls? Of course you have. We're drowning in experts and people who say they are infallible. Why should you be led by the nose with such an inexact science telling you whom to vote for? The Islamic group you've never heard of, teaching women to be a greater part of jihad. And we also will remember what happened 35 years ago tonight and why it should resonate in our current climate of fear. Whatever gets you through the night, imagine the possibilities. I'm Ed Berliner, and this is The Hardline for Tuesday, December 8th, 2015.
Freedom of religion is a fundamental constitutional principle. It's a founding principle of this country. Normally, I do not comment on what's going on in the presidential election. I will take an exception today. This is not conservatism. What was proposed yesterday is not what this party stands for, and more importantly, it's not what this country stands for.
Speaker of the House Paul Ryan is just the latest, a snapback against top GOP POTUS candidate Donald Trump. And in the process, snapping back against numbers that belie all the indignance we're seeing at the moment over Trump's incendiary comments about keeping Muslims out of America. Those are the numbers from various polls, comments from those who are rock solid in their support of their candidate, resolve from the man himself that this is the right way while others are failing in their duty to keep America safe. But couple that with warnings from the masses that we are doing exactly what ISIS wants. We are buying into their manipulation. We are digging a deeper hole from which terrorists will strike not for years, but for generations to come. And in the process, are we losing our identity as Americans? So let's get to it. Welcome President of the Federation for American Immigration Reform, FAIR, Dan Stein, and from the Clarion Project, National Security Analyst Ryan Morrow. Ryan, I want to thank you for joining us. Gentlemen, thank you. Because, Ryan, I'm going to start with you on this one here. The indignance over what Donald Trump is saying, people saying absolutely he is the only candidate that is focused on American safety. He is saying exactly what needs to be said right now. But you have a whole lot of, you've got much more information and much more experience than many of us have, knowing full well that this is a disaster for national security, yes?
Absolutely. Let me put it to you this way. If I was a member of ISIS, I would be ordering Donald Trump bumper stickers right now. I'm serious. It is that bad for our national security and that good for ISIS. I monitor ISIS and other jihadist accounts, and I'm seeing them talk about Donald Trump's comments in general, but this one, they really like, because it goes to that narrative that they have, which is that Muslims do not fit in America and do not fit in democracy. And so what's the alternative? Sharia law and jihad, because it is a civilizational battle, and they're saying that the only civilization that works for them is Sharia. And the second point here is that if you look at the polls, Muslim immigrants that come to the United States are far more moderate than the ones that come here. Many of them act as informants for the FBI. So this proposal makes us less safe.
Dan, let me get to you, because there are people who every time they speak about Donald Trump and this statement, they talk about Sharia law. They immediately believe that every Muslim that walks into America, that walks into France, that walks into every country around the world wants to do nothing more than kill people. I mean, let's be very honest here and be very frank. It happens. How then do we get past that when we have a candidate and people behind him who believe, honestly believe, that he is doing exactly what is necessary?
Look, this is an extremely important point here. Donald Trump has made it pretty clear that he has no problem with Muslims who are peacefully practicing the faith. I think most Americans, we all agree, most Americans feel the same way. Americans have been a remarkably tolerant, open, and hospitable nation in absorbing people from all over the world now on a sustained basis for 50 years. But what Donald Trump said in his phrase yesterday was, until we figure out what's going on. What happened in San Bernardino underscored something, and Donald Trump put his finger on it. Our vetting process is not working. relying upon our FBI and agencies to actually, after the fact, through intelligence, figure out who's going to be susceptible to this kind of radicalization is not working.
Dan, let me stop you right there if I can, because I want to hit right on this vetting process and this of immigration as well. You are exactly right. Donald Trump is right. So many others are right that we have heard over and over again. Our immigration system is not just broken. It is fractured. It is shattered. Nothing works because it has been allowed to get that way through decades of mismanagement. So if we're actually going to attack a problem here, Dan, don't we need to attack the fact that whether it's Carter, Bush 1, Bush 2, whatever president you want to talk about, Clinton, whomever, Obama, that these are the administrations that have allowed this process to become what it is today, and this is at the core of the issue right now. Not just Muslims or anybody else coming into the country, but the fact that we have failed to set up solid immigration processes for 21st century America.
Absolutely. And of course, the Obama administration has done a lot of damage beyond what was done before to our immigration control apparatus.
But it's fair to say that everybody takes responsibility, yes?
Well, yeah, but remember, what's happening now is unprecedented in human history. This jihad radicalization takes place through social media, a digital footprint that connects people all over the world in ways with the immediacy that we never imagined in past history. And then you have, on top of that, these weapons of mass destruction that are portable, that can be deployed by a small number of people. And the inability of our intelligence sources to actually get inside the mind of people who may come here with an objective of deploying these weapons over time. And this whole scenario is unprecedented in history. Donald Trump has said, look, what FAIR has said for years is we need a pause or a timeout in most immigration, totally, in order to try to figure out how to get control of the process. Donald Trump took the least burdensome alternative of saying, all right, if you can't come up with a better idea, for a short period of time, suspend Muslim immigration until we can figure out how to ascertain the motives of people and how they're being sent by ISIS through these various channels.
But you also talked about control of the process. Ryan, hang on. I'm going to get to you in a moment here, but Dan's hitting on this right now. When you talk about control of the process, Dan, come on, let's stop and be honest. Control of the process has been here for decades. We can't get control of it. When Donald Trump says, let's wait and see what the hell we're doing, that could take decades more for us to figure out. We're mired in this, yes?
Well, look, how many people have to die because we
yes,
want
thank you.
A mass immigration agenda that isn't serving the national interest? The United States, the American people have no obligation to take immigrants or refugees from anywhere if the policy is not serving the national interest. So in the end, we want to be hospitable. But if our government cannot guarantee that through proper vetting, they're going to keep out cells from being developed, and this nonsense about how, we're empowering ISIS by saying, for years and years and years, Muslims who come here and peaceably want to be part of the American dream have had no problem. We welcome them as a nation with open arms. This whole idea that, wow, we can't take proper steps to control our borders and our national security because we empower ISIS is a completely, who's going to jeopardize the safety of our children and grandchildren by pursuing that ridiculous narrative?
It's a lie, it's a crock, it's a dodge. We get it. All right, I got about 2 minutes left. Ryan, let me come back to you. Here's Nihad Awad. He is the executive director of the Council on American Islamic Relations, saying that with Trump, he is trashing the Constitution and just what we talked about here, behaving just as our enemies want us to behave. Here it is.
It serves to alienate American Muslims, and this is what ISIS or Daesh wants to do. It cannot defeat the United States militarily. What they hope to do is for Americans to be divided among themselves along religious and ethnic backgrounds, and therefore Donald Trump is just playing into the hands of the leaders of ISIS.
Ryan, let's be honest again. We're not going to carpet bomb them into oblivion. That's not going to happen. ISIS, ISIL, Daesh, whatever you want to call them, they are desperate for us to be on their grounds because that makes their point about the West seeking to take over their lands. We are playing right into their hands in all of this narrative, yes?
Yes, I don't consider Nihad Awad to be the best source on issues like these, but there are many other sources that you can rely on to make this case, and it's not just about American values. It is about national security. This hurts national security, and I would like to ask Donald Trump that if he thinks he can screen out Muslims, tell me what a Muslim looks like. Because they are converts, they all look different, and by the way, the ones that are bad are taught that they can lie. I went to a radical Islamic online university, and one of the very first things that I learned was that if it makes you uncomfortable at work or you find a reason that you need to, you can lie about your faith.
And that is part of the issue here. Dan, 30 seconds, final word. Where do we then go from here?
Well, that's why we need to have an adult dialogue about having a sustained slowdown in immigration, because the interior enforcement and all the damage Obama has done really have put this country in this polarized position where we kind of holler at one another all the time. FAIR doesn't think we should necessarily discriminate on the basis of religion. We've always said that's a bad idea. But ultimately, if you cannot vet people and ascertain their motives and intent, then you have to figure out how to slow down the process overall for everybody in order to figure out how to protect the American people.
A process that is a complete disaster. It doesn't make a difference whether you're left, right, or in between. You would have to agree on that. Dan Stein, Ryan Morrow, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. We'll speak again soon. The so-called educator teaching Islamic women how to be a greater part of global jihad. That's next here on The Hardline.